Greetings. My name is Smriti Kumar, and it's good to be here, even if virtually, to present the investigations of our paper. This talk is short, and I invite you to read our extended abstract available through the conference website. So let's begin. Consumer data privacy is one of the growing concerns to the society today. Many regulations have been put in place, such as GDPR in Europe and CCPA in United States, which aim to provide consumers control over their data. One of the control is to be able to delete their information, also called the right to erasure or right to forgotten. In European Union, firms explicitly give consumers right to delete their data. However, in United States, it's not explicit. Companies are struggling to figure out how to give consumers control over their data. Current approaches in place are opt in and opt out, where consumers can voluntarily choose to opt in or opt out of sharing their data. The other one is positive or negative framing. There are two ways through which firms collect consumer data, either directly taking permission from the consumers or indirectly through other sources such as tracking their online usage, etc. Now it's unclear how giving consumers an option to delete their data will impact their willingness to share their personal information. While we are talking about sharing information, privacy literature suggests that there are various contextual factors that impact consumer willingness to share their personal data, such as sensitivity of the information, sharing your name versus sharing your SSN, or the recipient of the information, sharing with a friend versus sharing with a stranger. Style of presentation also impacts extent of information sharing, and to our surprise, at least to mine, people share more information when the browser looks unprofessional as compared to a professional one. Not much research has been done to explore framing of data request as a contextual factor impacting individuals' willingness to share the information. In this paper, we examine three types of framing of data request. Provide, that is, asking consumers to provide their personal information. Keep, asking consumers to keep already collected information. And delete, asking consumers to delete already collected information, and its impact on their willingness to share their personal information. If we were rational beings, all of these framings should lead to the same amount of information sharing. However, we are not rational. Thus, we hypothesize that consumers will share less in keep frame than in delete or provide. The rationale behind that is different frames should lead to different levels of perceived autonomy. Highest in provide because consumers have full control over their data. Less in delete because the data request suggests that the firms are okay with consumers deleting their data. Thus, consumers have the autonomy. But in keep condition, the data request could suggest that the autonomy is shared between the firm and the consumer. Firm wants to keep the data, thus lesser autonomy to the consumer. Less or shared autonomy leads to a sense of threat, and according to reactance theory, consumers will take an action to nullify that threat, thus share less. Based on the reactance theory, we also hypothesize that the effect of framing on the willingness to share will be mediated by negative emotions and negative cognition elicited by the sense of threat. Based on previous privacy literature, we also hypothesize that the effect of framing on willingness will be moderated by sensitivity of the information, that is, whether the information is less versus more sensitive, or who the recipient of the information is, whether it's a trusted party or not. Our first study tested the framing effect on consumers' willingness to share. We recruited 511 participants from MTurk. This study was a 3 provide, keep, delete frames by three recipients: a close friend, a trusted marketer, or an unknown marketer between subjects design. We also had sensitivity of the 36 information types as a within subject factor. We measured willingness to provide, keep, and delete for 36 different types of information and also measured their perceived sensitivity. We created a panel data. Then we performed mixed effects regression. Here are the equations for the two models. We have main effects in model 1 and main and interaction effects in model 2. We also kept 36 information types as fixed effects in the models. And the results showed significant main effects and interaction effects as well as fixed effects. To understand them better, we performed bootstrapping. We found that coefficients of provide, keep, and delete are significantly different from each other. There is no overlap in the confidence intervals. Something to note here is that the magnitude of the delete frame is the highest. That is, people shared the most information in the delete frame, although not significantly different from provide, but significantly different from keep frame. People shared least information in the keep frame, thus supporting our hypothesis 1. Looking at the interaction effects between frame and the sensitivity, we found that the framing effect is evident in low and medium sensitivity information types, but not in the high sensitive information types, which makes sense. High information types such as your credit card, your SSN, your financial account numbers, people share less, or rather, they don't share, and thus framing has no effect on it. Looking at the interaction between frame and recipient, we found the frame effect somewhat in the friend condition but not in the trusted marketer or unknown marketer conditions. Sadly, our hypothesis was not supported. We ran a second study to replicate the framing effect on a different platform. This time, we recruited participants from Prolific. Once again, we created a panel data. Mixed effects regression results were very similar to study 1. Fixed effects results, very similar to study 1 once again. Coefficient comparison. Once again, we found that all the coefficients are significantly different from each other, and magnitude-wise, provide has highest willingness to share this time, higher than delete, and the least information is shared in the keep frame. This result is in accordance to our hypotheses based on the autonomy as well. Thus, hypothesis 1 is supported in study 2. We saw that the interaction between frame and sensitivity was significant. Frame effect was evident in low and medium information segments, but not in high sensitivity information types, supporting our hypothesis 3A. The interaction effect between frame and recipient, we found that the framing effect between provide and delete and provide and keep among all the three recipients was present, but the effect was not present between delete and keep. This suggests that the effect of the recipient doesn't matter when consumers are asked to either delete or keep the information which is to be shared with their respective recipients. Thus, hypothesis 3B is not supported. In study 3, we tested the mechanism of the framing effect. Once again, we had the same study design, but this time we had 5 information types from each low, medium, and high sensitive information types instead of having 36. Mixed effects regression results. We also included COVID and resistance measures, but they had no significant impact on the willingness to share. Looking at the bootstrap results, we found a significant overlap between delete and keep frames this time, but provide was significantly different from both delete and keep. We couldn't replicate our frame effect in this study. We did a mediation analysis for low, medium, and high sensitive information types. We found some interesting results. First, for provide versus keep and provide versus delete. Remember, we found framing effects for these comparisons in the study 3. We found that the effect was mediated by negative emotions but not negative cognition. Only for low and high sensitive information types, but not for medium sensitive information types. There is an effect in medium information types, but this at this time we cannot say much about its process factor. Delete versus keep, we couldn't find either the total effect or the mediation effect in the study. We plan to run this study one more time. In conclusion, we saw framing has an effect on consumers' willingness to share information. People share least in the keep condition than in provide and delete. Effects of framing is mediated by negative emotions but not negative cognitions. That's all for now. I'll see you all on 18th for further Q&A. Thank you.